on Sirius XM channel 127, Monday, February 8th. This week, it is big, my friends. Impeachment 2. This time it's personal. And it really is personal. Look, the chance of getting 17 Republicans to come over and support and do the right thing, almost impossible, because the bottom line is people become a Republican elected officials so they don't have to do the right thing. That's sort of the selling point to them. But doesn't mean the House Democrats who are going to be trying this case, led by Congressman Jamie Raskin, shouldn't play to the home audience, play to America. And in turn, of course, they're playing to the Republican senators there and do it in a way which makes it painful for these Republicans to vote against convicting Donald Trump. I mean, painful morally and also ultimately politically, because that's all they care about. And here's how I would frame it. And we're going to talk about it more on my show tonight, and I hope you'll join me and share your view. Here's how I would frame it. I would go back to 2 weeks after 9/11. George W. Bush speaks to a joint session of Congress, and he states the famous line, either you are with us or you're with the terrorists. Either you are with us or you're with the terrorists. Then he went on and told his joint session of Congress that the foreign enemy who attacked our nation did so because, quote, they hate what they see right here in this chamber, a democratically elected government. Well, on January 6th, that very chamber was attacked, but this time not by a foreign enemy, but by a domestic enemy incited by the sitting president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. And I hope the House Democrats frame this in an effort to get 17 GOP senators to do the right thing. But even if they don't, to make it clear to the American people what the stakes are, here's my framing. You tell the GOP senators, here's your choices, my friends. You're either with Donald Trump or you're with the United States of America. Period. There's no overlap. There's no other options. You are either with Donald Trump or the United States of America, and repeat it over and over and go through it. And that's not hyperbolic. This is what we're dealing with. I find some in the media intentionally or unintentionally covering this story now like it's Democrats say this, Republicans say this. Our nation's capital was attacked on January 6th by the President of the United States for the sole purpose, he incited this insurrection to prevent the peaceful transfer of power, period. There's no gray. That's what happened. And there's no impeachment like what we're going to see this week in terms of stakes. The past impeachments in the modern era dealt very much more personal issues. They helped themselves politically or personally. I mean, Bill Clinton charged with lying and abuse of power, trying to cover up an affair. You had even Donald Trump's last year, his impeachment was talking to the Ukrainian leader, abuse of power, and trying to get him to find dirt on Joe Biden. This is different. As the House managers wrote in the very first line of their brief, I'll read it to you because I think it's so important and so powerful and frames it. They wrote, this trial arises from President Donald J. Trump's incitement of an insurrection against the republic he swore to protect. That's what this is. This is not about a cover-up over an affair. This is not trying to get dirt on your opponent. This is Donald Trump inciting an insurrection, violating his oath to protect this republic against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and instead he created an army of domestic enemies to attack our nation. That's the stakes. That's what we're dealing with. And as the House managers went through in their brief, and I really encourage people to check it out, especially the first 25 pages it's double spaced. It's really quick reading. The facts they go through. Forget the law part, because it's not a legal trial. It's a political trial. They go through it in great detail. This is not just about a speech on January 6th. They started at the beginning, which was Donald Trump during the campaign, priming his base, telling them the only way I can lose is if they rig the election, getting them there mentally. Then, after the election for over 2 months, lying over and over. And they'll go through great detail during the trial on this, lying about fraud that didn't exist, about judges fighting against him. He didn't care. Nothing mattered. Our Constitution doesn't matter. Facts don't matter to Donald Trump. All that matters is him staying in power. Then on January 6th, he had his rally. But before that, for weeks, he was on Twitter saying, come on out. It's going to be wild, as in short for wilding. He called his supporters there and said, join me, stop the steal. And he called them there not on a random day, not on a weekend, not at a rally for night before an election. He called them there on January 6th because that's the day he knew by federal law Congress had to meet in a joint session, and they had to meet at 1 p.m. That's by federal law. So he held his rally that morning to end at that time within walking distance so he could rile up his base and unleash them on the Capitol. And that's the very words of the House managers. They talk about this and they go through in detail Donald Trump's tweets, then his words on that day as the crowd was chanting, "Fight for Trump." Not fight for America, fight for Trump. He was telling them things, and I want to get these words right, so I'll read it. He wrote, "We are stuck with a president who lost the election by a lot. We have to live with that for 4 more years," adding, "We're just not going to let that happen." He went on to talk about they want to steal the election, the Democrats. It's time that somebody did something about it. He said the word fight 16 times. When you hear those words, someone's got to do something about it. That we can't let this happen. All of this has context. That's the way you would view it. A criminal case, I hope one day we'll view it that way. If this speech was on election eve, that's fine. It's typical political fare. It's fire getting your base out to vote. This is so important. The time Donald Trump called his supporters there, and the most rabid of the Trump base came to D.C. and said those words that we're just not going to let this happen, that we have to fight. Someone's got to do something about it. They only know strength, not weakness. This is so important. There was no peaceful option for Donald Trump's supporters at that moment to stop the certification of Joe Biden's victory. There was nothing. There was no election. They cannot join in it. They cannot stop it for any legal means. They couldn't go to court. The only thing they were there for was just the backstop for Donald Trump to physically prevent the congressional certification. As the House managers said in their brief, Trump knew what he was doing. He summoned a mob to Washington, exhorted them into a frenzy, and aimed them like a loaded cannon down Pennsylvania Avenue. 20-minute walk, and they walked, and they got angrier and angrier. And as we know from numerous contemporaneous videos made during the siege, Trump supporters saying, "I'm here because my president invited me. I'm here for Donald Trump," over and over, live during the event. And then the days after, we heard them do that even before they were arrested and after arrested. "I did this because Donald Trump, the commander-in-chief, told me to do this." They went there for one reason, to stop the certification of Joe Biden's victory. They went there to stop the execution of a federal law. That's why they went there. There's no doubt about it. To stop the confirmation of Joe Biden's victory. So you're going to hear a lot. I mean, the trial will begin tomorrow's constitutional arguments. Then for the next few days, 16 hours, both sides get to argue. There's going to be a chance for calling witnesses. We'll see how that works out. But I hope the entire time the frame is this. They tell the senators, you're faced with a simple choice here today in this trial. Are you with Donald Trump or are you with the United States of America? There are no other options, just like there were no other options after 9/11, and America's watching for your response. I hope that's the frame. And let the Republicans squirm, let them sweat as they pick Donald Trump over America. We know where this is going. There's no surprise ending. Their loyalty is no longer to our Constitution. It is to power. That's what they're about. But let's see them surprise us for the better. It's not going to happen. We'll talk about this on my show tonight. I'd love to hear what your idea is for framing this to win, because winning is not in that room getting 17 GOP senators. Winning is convincing even more Americans that what Trump did is so vile, so un-American, such a threat to our republic that how can any person who believes in our nation, who's loyal to this country, not vote to hold him accountable? That's how we're going to win. We're going to win 2022 even bigger, the House and the Senate. Because Americans are going to see once and for all, the GOP is about power, not about our Constitution, not about the United States of America. My show's live 6 to 9 p.m. on Channel 127. Hope you'll join us. There's free trials. Be a part of our family. We've got so much work to do. Once we're done with Trump, we're going to push and push and push on policies that help our fellow Americans. And I say it every night, want progress, stay active. Thanks for tuning into my preview tonight.